Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this Chantex Multimedia live streaming for Australian Indian Radio. And what a day today it is. There's lots that's been happening, and we'll bring to you all the updates. Well, it's a beautiful day out here in Brisbane, 21 degrees and sunny. Well, it is beautiful. Well, right now, the biggest talk of the town at the moment, the way it's going around, is the LNP spill. So what has actually happened there? Let's take a look at the breaking news. And as we know, that this has prompted a lot of questions, and that's been now happening. So Barnaby Joyce has been re-elected as the leader of the Nationals Party and will retain as Deputy Prime Minister after MPs dumped McCormack in a leadership spill today. And of course, as we know, that the move is to reinstate Joyce comes after the Prime Minister Scott Morrison earlier praised the wonderful partnership that he enjoyed with McCormack, saying that the pair had delivered great, stable leadership. But after a spill motion was called by the former Resources Minister Matt Canavan today, Joyce was able to secure a majority of 21 votes to take back the top and the double salary $433,000 a year job. Confirming the vote for Joyce, Liberals whip Damien Drum says that nothing can result in the spill other than the leadership position. So there you are, up to date, as this is a long time coming. And of course, he has to go through a process now to be sworn in, to have all the conversations, to talk to the Prime Minister, and effectively to get on with the job of representing our people, he said. Drum said that the spill showed the Nationals were the most democratic party in Australia. McCormack, who said he was feeling positive ahead of the meeting, said he had thanked all the MPs for the privilege of being appointed to the role. I said thank you for the great privilege of serving you, he said and told the reporters. McCormack had earlier vowed to fight any move against him. If I survive, then the people who actually run against me, they should think long and hard about their futures, he said. They should think long and hard about the role they need to play in government. They should stop being so destabilizing. The Agriculture Minister, David Littleproud, remains Deputy Leader of the Nationals, but Joyce is likely to want to reshape the Nationals Ministry representations as a part of the coalition agreement to be negotiated with Morrison. Joyce's appointment will complicate the Morrison government's attempts to recast the climate policy as it edges towards a commitment of net zero emissions by 2015, and Joyce, an outspoken critic of the move. Joyce was forced from a deputy prime ministership in 2018 after a sexual harassment complaint was made against him by high-profile rural woman Catherine Marriott. This came after it was revealed that Joyce had been a long-running extramarital relationship with one of his political staffers, Vicky Champion. The affair became public once her pregnancy was revealed in the Daily Telegraph. And Joyce's behaviour prompted then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull to introduce a ban on MPs having sexual relations with staff members, which became known as the Bonk Ban. But an 8-month investigation into the New South Wales Nationals failed to make a determination about Marriott's complaint about Joyce, citing insufficient evidence. So there you are, up to date on this day. What? Yes, they say it's another spill. So, with that happening, what are the Labor Party saying? Here's what they had to say.
Instead of rolling out the vaccine to the Australian people, they've just concentrated on rolling each other. The rolling of Michael McCormack, a decent human being, by Barnaby Joyce represents the 6th combination of Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister under the 8 long years of this government. It's a vote of no confidence in their own government. And the fact is, if you want to end this circus, it's time to end this government. I've seen governments be self-indulgent before, and they get punished. This is a government that is being self-indulgent at a time of a pandemic. The last time there was a spill was in the middle of the bushfire crisis. This time it's in the middle of a pandemic. In the middle of a pandemic where the Prime Minister had a phone hook-up with state premiers today in order to shift blame for his failure to roll out supply of the vaccine. The fact is that today we have now, I think we're up to the 24th breach of hotel quarantine. 24 breaches. And yet we still have a government that says it can't fix national quarantine. And when it comes to vaccine, we have a failure to roll it out because they're too interested in focusing on themselves, too interested in congratulating themselves, saying they're at the front of the queue, and other nonsense which just is not true. There's been no reason given for the rolling of the leader of the National Party other than self-indulgence and a power-hungry mob engaging in internal politics at a time where we should be focused on what happens outside this building, not focused on what happens inside.
As he mentioned that we should be focused on what's happening outside and not inside. And of course, what we know, that there have been so many talks and right now with that motion, well, he's back in. Well, right now here in Queensland, we have some very good news to share.
Can I say to Queenslanders, I've got some very good news today, and I hope everyone is going to be just as delighted as we are. Everyone knows that Dr. Young has stood by our side through thick and thin. She has been with us every step of the way during this pandemic. And today I can announce to Queenslanders that the next Governor of Queensland will be Dr. Jeanette Young. I was advised that Her Majesty had endorsed Dr. Young's appointment.
Thank you very, very much, Premier. This is an enormous honour and one I'm so pleased to accept. It will be a real privilege to be able to go across our wonderful state and talk to Queenslanders throughout the state, because it has been Queenslanders who have done this over the last 18 months. They've given up so much for us to be where we are, and for me to have that true honour and privilege to go out and talk to people is unbelievable. It will be big shoes to fill. Our Governor has been an amazing Governor through some very difficult times, and I really look forward to talking to him, and I look forward with my husband, who has been the most enormous support over the last 18 months, and indeed for my career over the last 16 years. I've been truly privileged to be able to remain as Queensland's Chief Health Officer.
As he mentioned, that what a privilege it would be, of course, being the Governor of Queensland is just by on its own feet, never a small task. And as he mentioned, big shoes to fill, but of course I think it's a very, very deserving appointment, and she will just be amazing. You can just see that in her, and for all the things that she has done, they couldn't have chosen a better person. So well done, and congratulations, as we mentioned before. Well, right now, let's take a look at some of the news that the Premier's been making.
All right.
Yes, we are ready.
Everyone's fine?
Yep.
All right, well, good morning, Queensland. So in some really good news, we have 0 community cases overnight, so that's fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see at this stage. We do have 5 cases in hotel quarantine, which means now we have 32 active cases. We've had 5,113 vaccines over the past 24 hours, and in some really good news, the Health Minister just advised me that we had over 81,000 vaccinations last week. So in 1 week alone, that is tremendous news. So we're very happy that people are going out and getting vaccinated. So look, I do want to thank everyone who's going out and getting tested, and also to those alerts, those media alerts that went out about where this young woman had been with the DFO, and also to the Portuguese Family Centre out at Carroll Park in Ellen Grove. So please make sure you're checking all of those things, and if you have been to any of those venues, it's important to isolate and to get tested. So I'll just hand over to Dr. Young, and then we'll just take any questions on this first.
So, good morning. So 5 new cases, all in hotel quarantine, which is excellent, and no community cases. But I need to clarify a few issues with the young woman who travelled to Australia from Portugal. So she travelled on an Emirates flight, but she was not Emirates cabin crew. She was coming to Australia to then work as cabin crew for other airlines. So she came into hotel quarantine. We now have the genome sequence back, and it clearly shows it is exactly the same as another person's genome sequence who was also in that crew hotel at 4 Points. So we're just working out how that transmission occurred. But there is no doubt that she has acquired it in the hotel or at some point when she's come into contact with that person. That person was not on that Emirates flight. They were on a totally different flight into Australia. They also work as cabin crew. So all of that work's happening. So we've now had to work with all the airlines about other crew that they've had in that hotel, just to sort through whether there's been any other events that have happened. And we've also worked with all of the staff. So we're retesting all of the staff in that hotel, but I'm pretty confident that it won't have been through staff, as we know that our staff get tested every single shift. But we're just absolutely confirming all of that. The good thing out of all of this, though, is that we know that the lady who came from Portugal has the B117, or the Alpha variant, which used to be called the UK variant. So it is contagious, but it's not as contagious as the Delta variant that we're now seeing circulate through parts of Sydney. So that is good news. I do want to thank all those people who went to DFO, and we now know that the lady did go into Cotton On at the DFO, so we'll be doing some further work looking at anyone else who was in Cotton On at the same time at the DFO at the airport. But it's important that anyone who went to the DFO between 4 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. on Saturday comes forward, as people have been doing, so that we can work with them what risks they may have. I'm not so concerned now about the time that the lady spent outdoors in the centre of the CBD between 5 and 6. That's now less of a risk, given that we know which variant. But people do need to be attuned to any symptoms. So if anyone who was in the CBD between 5 and 6 p.m. on Saturday or around those times develops any symptoms, indeed I always say anyone in Queensland with any symptoms, please come forward and get tested. That is really
forward and get tested, and that is the very sound advice there. Dr. Janet Young doing what she does best. And talking about DFOs and the check-in process. If people had checked into the store, then obviously we won't have to be chasing and asking people to come forward and tell if they had been. Then we would have known. But that is not happening. I've seen that in many big shopping centres and everywhere. No one checks in. They just walk in. And of course, some of the public eatery areas, as I saw yesterday in Gold Coast, is chockers. And there's no social distancing, no masks or anything like that, and no check-ins as well. So people just going willy-nilly. Of course, we know we are lucky to be here in Queensland, where the restrictions are not that strict. But if we are not careful, then things could go wrong. Well, right now, what's happening in New South Wales?
This strain of the virus, which is becoming the dominant strain, is extremely contagious, and some people are spreading it more than others, and what we want to avoid at this stage is a super spreading event. Fortunately, with this current outbreak, we've not experienced a super spreading event where numerous people have been infected at the one time, and that's what we want to prevent, which is why in those categories we've asked people to wear a mask. So just to recap, the compulsory public transport mask wearing also extends to Wollongong and Shell Harbour local government areas. And also in Sydney, there'll be 7 local government areas in the CBD, the inner west, the inner east and the inner south, where people will be required to wear a mask if they're a hospitality worker, if they're shopping, if they're engaging in any indoor activity, unless they're eating or drinking.
And of course, unless eating or drinking, as I mentioned, that it is very, very hard to police that. Well, so we have seen what's happening there. Right now, let's go to Victoria and let's take a look at what's actually happening there.
Well, my message and what I hope to see out of National Cabinet is a sense of urgency, an acknowledgement from the Commonwealth that this is indeed a race. That's what I want to see out of National Cabinet. I want to see confirmation of supply. We want to see an increase in supply. But above all, we want to see a sense of urgency. This is a race that nationally we are falling behind in. You know, Yuan?
Where are we on the numbers? Where do we stand? How many do we need? And where are we appointment-wise? When do we run out? What's the cut-off date?
So there's a couple of things. In terms of where we are right now, we are well behind where we need to be. You know, our total, in terms of our population and how many are fully vaccinated, it's around 3%. You look at other jurisdictions around the world, they're at 45, 50, 60% fully vaccinated and a much higher number with their first doses. So when you compare how Australia is going with the rest of the world, we are falling so far behind, it's not funny. Now, what we've seen out of this very high-level plan are fewer doses for Victorians for weeks in July and August before a mad rush at the end of the year. Now, I welcome General Fruin's appointment, and God knows we need someone to sort out the mess in Canberra, so I welcome his appointment, but what we need to see out of National Cabinet today and for the rest of the year is a sense of urgency, an acknowledgement that this is a race and that we need more supply, not fewer doses coming to Victoria in July and August, but more supply so we can meet the demand that is out there. People want to get vaccinated. We need people to get vaccinated. The higher the proportion of your population that is vaccinated, the better options there are for public health advice in terms of how we get through this pandemic.
And of course, that is the only way to get through that is having more doses and the things coming there. Well, right now, we'll take a short commercial break, then we'll go into some of the highlights of the weekend. And of course, we've got GOPIO, Gold Coast, and the annual dinner highlights coming up.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
And real estate is the world. And don't forget that on Wednesdays we have Real Estate Update with Usha Chandra. That will now go to online radio on Friday morning at 7:30 in the Subhaka Safar and at 5 p.m. on Friday in the Drive Show. Well, right now, as promised, we'll go and take a look at the highlights of the GOPIO Gold Coast and the annual dinner held at SeaWorld Convention Centre.
Gracia, GOPIO Gold Coast President. I'm so glad to be here to celebrate International Yoga Day and celebrate the entire Indian community in the Gold Coast. Thanks for joining us.
Organization engaged in promoting the well-being of people of Indian origin and enhancing cooperation and communication between Indian diaspora around the world. As GOPIO Gold Coast, we hope to provide a platform for Indians in Gold Coast to grow, connect, and expand their social, professional, and cultural networks and contribute to the community at large. On behalf of GOPIO Gold Coast, I would like to extend a special welcome to our honorary guests and VIPs for today. His Worship, the Mayor of the City of Gold Coast, Councillor Tom Tate, and Mayoress Mrs. Ruth Tate. The Senator for Queensland, Mr. Murray Watt. Honorary Council of India, Mrs. Archana Singh. GOPIO Queensland Founders and OIM, Mr. Umesh Chandra and Mrs. Usha Chandra. President of GOPIO Queensland Chapter, Mr. Rakesh Sharma. FICQ President, Mr. Shyam Das. Former FICQ President, Mr. Ram Mohan. President of the Malayali Association of Queensland, Mr. Krishnan Menon. Is to count our blessings and realise that we still have much.
Namaste, but I hope I'm right to step a bit further and say Namaskar. I'll just add to a couple of, not add to, but just to go through a couple of VIPs. That's so wonderful that they're here. Of course, I start with President Pradeep Gracia, our Gold Coast GOPIO, and my good friend Senator Murray Watt. It's always wonderful to have you in Canberra and looking after our back on the Gold Coast. And Your Excellency Mrs. Archana Singh, our Indian Consul General. There are so many people from different culture to come and celebrate that. And what I would say to that is, one, we celebrate the city we're in. Two, the number of Indian heritage people that are here and the achievement they do and how generous they are into all the various charity that I know that you support. And three, to other multicultural people. In our way, the thoughts and prayers are there, and especially a lot of you have friends and families over there. And the good uplift is that, as I ask around, that you are coming out of it over there, and you know, it's so wonderful that the connections there. And I even talked to some people here that they're getting their vaccine, getting ready so that they can go back and see their family. Even though it's a long way away, when it comes to family and friends, our heart beats so close together.
Begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land that were gathered on today. Pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of His Worship, Mayor Tom Tate, Mayoress Ruth Tate, Honorary Council of India, Mrs. Archana Singh, Senator Murray Watt, CEO of Study Gold Coast, Alfred Slowgrove, community leaders of Gold Coast and Brisbane, distinguished guests, dear friends, thank you for joining us this evening. GOPIO Gold Coast is the voice of Indians living in the Gold Coast. We are not only organized activities for the Indian community, but the multicultural and the wider community in Gold Coast. Firstly, I will thank everyone that joined us for the celebration of International Yoga Day this morning. It was an amazing turnout. The entire veranda was full. Hugely a successful event, and hopefully all our chakras are aligned for another great evening. Our heart goes out to all the grieving families who have lost loved ones in India, Australia, and the rest of the world. It has been a very interesting and challenging 12 months. We had to constantly rethink our priorities and become more creative in addressing the challenges. Despite all the COVID restrictions that we had, we managed to organize a business networking event to boost the economy. A charity dinner for the homeless youth in Gold Coast. Celebrate Indian Republic Day and Australia Day. Celebrate International Women's Day to empower women to face these challenges. We also organize a domestic violence prevention seminar and also discuss about mental health. We must commend ourselves for being able to bring 2 events in one day today, a morning and a yoga day and an evening dinner. I thank the committee for helping us. However, in this increasing challenging environment, why are we choosing to have a celebration? We had a choice, either to curl up in the corner and whimper, or step up to the challenge. Many have started learning a new skill, upgrading their working skills, embarking on a university education, plunging into business, and starting a new business also. Business owners became more creative and diversified their business model, and some took up health regime to become fitter. Besides helping ourselves, we took the initiative of helping others by cash donations, helping the community, and lending our shoulder and ears to someone grieving locally and overseas.
I begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. I also acknowledge all elders of all cultures present here. Senator Murray Watt, it's always a pleasure to see you. Your Worship, it's wonderful to have you here, and Lady Mayoress, GOPIO Gold Coast and GOPIO Queensland, FICQ, all the member associations and their leaders present here. I acknowledge each and every one of you to this wonderful celebratory event. I think Mr. Pradeep Borasia said correctly that this is a day of celebration. So this morning we celebrated International Yoga Day, which was attended by many very, very enthusiastic practitioners of yoga, and which I also joined and thoroughly enjoyed. And Gold Coast is always wonderful to come to, and the weather was just perfect. So it was a commitment to community, and a commitment to bettering ourselves, and a commitment to wellness, both physical, emotional, and spiritual. Because that is what yoga is all about, and that's what we are all trying to do, especially coming out of the shadows of COVID, the pandemic, which has affected so many people in so many different ways.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, it was a fun-filled night there and very well done. One day we will run through the full version of that for your benefit. But right now it's time to look at the message on Yoga Day from our High Commissioner.
Partnering with many organizations for this purpose, and they will be our partners and events being held here in Canberra, in Sydney, in Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane and Gold Coast. So it is going to reach all Australian friends in a very, very big way. Thank you.
So here are some of the glimpses of the event that took place in Canberra. And we'll have the full report in Brisbane Indian Times.
What I'll do.
Hello everyone, I'm Councillor Angela Owen, and it's with great pleasure once again that I throw my support behind India Day Fair, to be held this year on the 15th of August at Suncorp Piazza at South Bank in Brisbane. This is for many years, and it is wonderful to know that it is continuing and growing from strength to strength.
And of course, we've also got the support from the Mayor of Gold Coast.
Wonderful to be here tonight to celebrate GOPIO, and with all our Indian friends. There's one thing we've got on the Gold Coast: we are so blessed. We're blessed with wonderful weather. We're blessed with the way we've handled pandemic, and we're so blessed with the Indian society that is so generous to help not just Indian descent, but also the wider community. So here's celebration. I love being here.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for today. And thank you for everyone for joining us. That it's quite an eventful day today for so many things happening there. But until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of the day, but most importantly, stay safe.